Oh, here he is. Okay. First things first. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. First things first. I'm gonna lay down the rules for you. Shut the fuck up! Shut the fuck up! You've been running your mouth, talking a lot of shit on Twitter, saying, I'm scared of you, little Daniel boy. So we're gonna be here, and we're gonna lay down some rules. First rule. You interrupt me, you get muted. No second chances. You interrupt me, you get muted for the duration that I make my point. Second rule. Daniel, and I want you to make sure you understand this. None of it was a meme. When you were talking shit on Twitter, did you just interrupt me? I'll just mute your bitch ass since you don't know proper manners. I'll explain it to you. None of what you said was a meme. Meaning, when I destroy you by the end of this debate and I fucking wreck you and I mentally dominate you, you don't run back and say, it was just for shits and giggles and it was all a meme and I didn't have any theoretical or intellectual investment in this whatsoever. I was really confident I was going to beat Haas. That's your position right now. It's not a meme, Daniel. You weren't memeing. It was 100% serious. So when I wreck you by the end of this fucking debate, I will have exacted your complete mental, ideological, and theoretical submission. I'm glad we can have this understanding. Now, Daniel, what do you want to debate me about? Go ahead.
You
didn't want to talk to me, Daniel. You wanted to debate me. I saw your very aggressive, aggressive language on Twitter. So what do you want to debate me about?
I wanted to debate you on the topic of China and how they are a revisionist country, specifically. Okay. Well, how do you want to begin?
You accuse China of being a revisionist country.
I do, yes.
On what grounds?
For example, they still maintain private property, even though they already had achieved some form of the abolition of the commodity form under Mao.
Kid, how old are you?
I am 20 years old.
Pathetic. So let's just address this specific point. You claim that China is a revisionist country because there exists private property, even though they had already eliminated it and eliminated the commodity form. Two false claims. Private ownership, to a minor extent, even to a major extent, depending how you look at it, existed throughout the entire duration of the Mao years. Second of all, there had always been commodities in the history of communist China. The very origin of the modern Chinese economy lies in the dual circulation system of dual circulating prices, which has its origins in the Maoist economy. What Chinese theoreticians have clarified is that the Soviet-style state ownership in the people's communes that existed during the Mao era were not eternal phases of true or a more mature form of socialism. They were actually forms of a primitive accumulation and a primitive socialism, actually, that represented the necessity of building a national industrial system and modernizing the primary sphere of production. But the question of the modernization of the secondary spheres and the tertiary spheres and so on, that could not be addressed within the frame of the old form of Soviet-style planning. So I want you to get back to your original point with all of this in mind and explain to me how China is revisionist. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, you're confusing original accumulation. Original accumulation. My first language is not English. With socialism, for some reason, you can't be on a stage.
That's what Chinese theoreticians called the original form of socialism in China. There is nothing controversial about identifying it as a form of primitive accumulation. And the reason why is that the function of
primitive accumulation is not communism. It is definitely supposed to be capitalist. This is from Marxist.
Did you just interrupt me?
Sorry. Excuse me. I know you don't like being interrupted, so I will.
You're 20 years old. Grow the fuck up and have some impulse control. Primitive accumulation is not the same thing as communism, obviously, but it is a necessary stage of modernization in general, whether it's led by communists or not led by communists. And the form so-called state socialism in the 20th century took, both in the Soviet Union and China, was very clearly a form of primitive accumulation. It very clearly was a form of estranging peasants and small landowners from their original means of production and consolidating them in some kind of form of primitive accumulation. Now, is that communism? Well, even to think of communism in terms of some kind of discrete system is non-dialectical. Never did Marx write about communism as some final system or some discrete specific system. Marx viewed communism as a process. Marx viewed communism as a movement, a real movement which sublates the present state of things. Communism does not have some kind of blueprint or inscribed form that, oh, this is communism, this is not communism. We call communism the force and the process by which the present state of things is sublated, specifically as it's led by communists, by a communist party. That is communism. So yes, at every stage of China's existence, technically it was communist. Now, is it a society and a mode of production that has been so thoroughly altered by the process of communism that it represents a mode of production entirely distinct from capitalism or the early stages of socialism? Of course not. But no one knows when that would even happen. It could take 100 years, it could take 1,000 years. It has nothing to do with what the essence of communism actually is.
Right, so do you call yourself a Leninist?
Of course.
Well, then you're just having a Kautsky point of view in which you say that means of production are not ready for us to reach socialism.
Did I say that? No. Wait.
Yeah, you said that even though the economic system is not based on socialism, since it was led by communists, I guess.
Yeah.
It would still be communism, but it didn't have the economic base.
Is that what I said? What did I say specifically, Daniel? Since there's some shit in your ears, you need to fucking get out of your ears. What did I say specifically? I said it may not be a society that has been so thoroughly transformed by the process that is communism that it is entirely different and unrecognizably distinct from capitalism, but that doesn't mean it's not communist. You accuse us of being a Kautsky position, even though the decisive significance of the revisionists of the Second International had nothing to do with the policies communists would take once they've seized power and established the dictatorship of the proletariat. Their position was a matter of political gradualism and political reform. So no, it's not a Kautsky position, because Kautsky's position was with regard to the development of capitalism under the rule of the dictatorship of the bourgeoisie. China is a country that is ruled by a communist party, a proletarian dictatorship that has long been in power after the overthrow of there wasn't even an overthrow to begin with. They just seized power. But the point still stands. So no, it's not a Kautsky position. You're talking out of your fucking ass.
Well, but the Communist Party of China definitely has billionaires. Even Xi Jinping is a fucking billionaire.
Okay. He's a fucking billionaire. I'm an high school. I say fucking. Watch your little language, little boy. Second of all,
how can you fucking justify?
How can you fucking? You want me to mute you, you fucking little dumbass? I'll fucking mute you. Do not interrupt me. Do not interrupt me. Do not dare interrupt me, little boy. You have made the leap from the question of what is the meaning of proletarian dictatorship to mouthing off recklessly and thoughtlessly about billionaires and how Xi Jinping is a fucking billionaire. Well, what does that have to do with anything? Thoroughly explain to me the connection before you mouth off and start swearing like a punk rock anarcho little bitch.
All right, well, first of all, I'm not an anarchist.
Yes, you are. You are a fucking anarchist.
I am a Marxist-Leninist
Yes, you are a fucking anarchist. You are a fucking anarchist. You adopt the cosmetic form of being a little Maoist, but in objective reality, you have the ideological and mental pathology indistinguishable from a fucking anarchist, since you love that word so much. Go on.
Well, how can you justify the chairman of the Communist Party of China being a billionaire and say that he is in any way a proletarian?
Why do I have to justify that?
Well, you're saying it's a dictatorship of the proletarian. The characteristics of a dictatorship.
And by the way, we're just going off your assumption that Xi is a billionaire, which is an unproven claim.
Well, isn't it? I'm sorry. If it is not proven, then that's my mistake.
No, it's not proven.
Well, anyway, at least we can both agree that he's definitely in the millions.
We
Right?
don't. No one knows his net worth. But you're saying he's a billionaire talking out of your ass. But let's just get. We agree there's billionaires in China, even if it's not Xi Jinping, and there are billionaires in the Communist Party. However, a tiny minority of the Communist Party they represent in comparison to the amount of workers and proletarians and peasants and farmers that are in the Communist Party. So I ask you, how does that prove China's not a proletarian dictatorship?
Well, I mean, there's definitely like, for example, billionaires who can give orders within the companies. So that means that they have political power over.
Sorry, they can or can't?
They can. I said billionaires who own factories can definitely give.
Okay, wait. Billionaires who
own
have
factories, just general people who embody capital, can definitely give orders with it to their fucking employees. Sorry, I sort of.
So okay, so they give orders to their employees, and you just Daniel, you are a Foucauldian anarchist. Foucault, the French idiot Foucault. You think this is a matter of power and control when that has nothing to do with what class is. But second of all, under the Soviet, shut the fuck up. Under the Soviet style system, they're also giving orders and control. Nothing changed. There's someone's giving orders and control. If you're operating a company, you are giving orders and control. There's no difference between that and giving orders and control if it's all owned by the state. What's the fucking difference?
Well, first of all, not every business in China is owned by the state. They actually have.
Did you listen to what I just said?
Yes, you said that it doesn't matter.
Can you clean this shit out of your ears?
Okay. Well,
I asked you if it's a private company, doesn't matter. You said the reason why the billionaires make it impossible that China's a proletarian dictatorship is because they're in their companies and they are giving orders, even though they're not, managers are, they're giving orders to workers within their companies. What does that have to do with anything? If it's a state-owned economy, they're also giving orders. By the way, Daniel, you mute me one more fucking time, then let me tell you what's going to happen. You willingly concede the debate to me. If you interrupt me one more time, you just surrender the debate. I'm giving you the opportunity so you don't have to disgrace yourself and surrender. If you interrupt me one more time, Daniel, you have submitted and surrendered to me. You understand?
I do, yes.
Okay. So, let me finish my point. You have not demonstrated the significance of ordering workers in the company when it doesn't matter what system you have or what form of ownership prevails, those relationships will remain.
Are you saying that socialism will maintain capitalist relationships of production like China has now with private businesses and billionaires?
The primary problem is that you don't know what capitalist relations of production is. Capitalist relations of production isn't the fact that managers need to order workers to fulfill certain tasks because no single individual knows exactly all of the logistical and technical and whatever necessities of production. That's just a technical matter. So that has nothing to do with some kind of essentially capitalist relation of production. Capitalist relations of production are not premised by workplace arrangements of power. This is a perversion of Marxism that Americans have created, funded by the State Department, that comes from Foucault, and it's an anarchistic fucking stupidity that has nothing to do with Marxism. Actually, you're the revisionist. You are trying to revise Marxism within the frame of Foucault's ideas about power relations, which has nothing to do with Marxism. When did Marx ever identify the relations of production in terms of workplace floor power? Can you please cite for me where Marx talks about relations of production being defined in that way?
Actually, for example, in the first chapter of Capital, he goes over the minutiae of capital, which
please
would be
quote me something. Quote something.
Do you want me? Okay, let me go into my copy of Capital then.
Yeah, go ahead.
1 second. Or actually, I think I can find this issue in my Heinrich book.
I don't care where you find it. Quote me something from Marx saying that capitalist relations of production or relations of production in general are defined by who has a say in the workplace over who, bathroom breaks and shit like that. Yeah.
Well, I mean that's way too fucking specific. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna find you in one thing.
Okay,
but
well, the workplace floor, whoever has control over the workplace floor, that's what defines the relations of production are defined by the arrangements at the workplace, the shop floor. That's what defines relations of production. Relations of productions aren't actually defined by the fundamental of private property and form of ownership. It's defined by like the form of cultural politics that happens at the shop floor, right? So quote me where Marx
it's
says that.
mostly sorry, I interrupted you, but it's mostly just people who embody capital and embody the interest of capital to exert itself.
Okay,
So for
and
example,
I embody your mother's pussy with my cock every night. What does it mean to embody capital? What does that even fucking mean?
well, capital by itself has its own internal logic to, for example, keep expanding.
Do
or
not
keep,
ramble and fucking waste my time talking about Marxism 101. Elaborate on what it means to embody capital. Go ahead.
Well, that just means you're embodying the
That's what you
logic of
just
capital.
fucking said. What does that even
The logic
mean?
of capital is to expand itself.
So we got from embodying capital to embodying the logic of capital. What does that fucking mean, Daniel?
This is basic Marxism. I don't know what to tell you. Embodying capital. This is the
Okay.
this
If
is
it's
in the
basic
fucking
Marxism,
first preface.
show me. Okay, show me where Marx says that the capitalist class is defined by embodying the logic of capital.
This is in. I'm pretty sure it's in the preface to the first
Sure.
edition.
I hope it is. Yeah. Quote it. Please quote it.
Wait. Face or historical development, approach economics. Okay, I'm gonna have to look for it in my book. I'm sorry, I don't have the specific.
Keep looking. Find that keyword embodiment. Just do Control F to, embody or embodiment.
I have a I have a okay. I have an EPUB which for some reason it's not finding.
It's not because it's not there. You ever thought of that? It's just not that fucking there. You pulled it out of your ass. You ever
I'm
thought
not
of that?
fucking pulling it out of my ass.
Yes, you are. Then find it.
I'm not.
Then find it. Find where Marx says embody that the class is defined by embodying the logic of capital. Fuck does that even mean? How do you embody the logic of capital as an individual? It's the most stupid fucking thing I ever heard of.
Complementary initial reading plan. Okay. The main title, capital makes clear. Okay. Preface to the first edition. Okay.
TikTok.
Yeah, I know. Fucking, I'm sorry. It's you're putting me in the spot here, making me find.
Yeah, I am putting you on the fucking spot. He left. What was that? What the fuck was that? He literally just left. What? Don't tell me he's given up that easy. Don't tell me he's given up that easy. What the fuck is that? What? He literally just left. Maybe his computer disconnected, his internet broke? Let's wait. Damn. That's fucking pathetic. It's fucking pathetic. That is so fucking pathetic. That is so fucking pathetic. What is this? What is this shit? Okay, they're back. Did you find it yet? Hello?
Yeah, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, do you find it yet?
Yeah, it's
Okay,
to
finally,
prevent
find it. Let's quote it. Go ahead.
yeah, to prevent possible misunderstanding a word, I paint the capitalist and the landlord in no sense couleur de rose, i.e., seen through the rose-tinted glasses. Here, individuals are dealt with only insofar as they are the personifications of economic categories, embodiments of particular class relations and class interests. My
Okay.
standpoint, from which the evolution of the economic formation of society is viewed as a process of natural history, can less than any other make the individual responsible for relations whose creature he socially remains, however much he may subjectively raise himself above them.
Okay, so I want to actually walk this back with you. Get to the word where he said embody. Did he say embody the logic of capital, or did he say embody specific class relations? Which one?
Huh? Well, they embody class relations, yes, and class relations are based on
Quote
the
the
logic of
exact
capital.
thing. Quote the exact
Okay.
thing.
Uh,
The part with embodiment. Quote it.
okay. Let's.
Insofar as they embody what?
Yes. Sorry. To prevent possible misunderstanding. My standpoint from which the evolution. No, wait. In so far as they are the personifications of economic categories, embodiments of particular class relations and class interests.
Okay, embodiments of particular class relations and class interests. Is that the word ad verbatim?
Yes.
Where does Marx talk about the capitalist class embodying capital and the logic of capital? I didn't ask you to find me a quote where he says they embody a certain class and certain class interest and certain class relations, a fucking truism. Where does he talk about them embodying capital? Are you stupid or are you deaf?
Well, if the sorry. I do not appreciate you fucking shouting at me so much like
I
that.
don't give a shit, Danielll.
When I am,
You literally said,
asked me to be
fucking come
fucking
at me,
civil.
bro. You just interrupt me? You literally just said, fucking come at me, bro. You were being super aggressive, and all of your friends are claiming I was running away from you because I'm so scared to debate the mighty Danielll. You're just putting up such a challenge and such a problem for me right now, Danielll. I was so scared of you, Danielll. It's not like I already anticipated that you were going to be a waste of my fucking time and you were not going to introduce one novel argument I haven't responded to in the past. No, I was running away from you, Danielll, because I'm so scared of Danielll. So, Danielll, show me what you got, Danielll. Show me what you got.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, capitalist class is known to embody the category of capitalist class.
Where does Marx say they embody capital itself? Not the capitalist class, but capital and the logic of capital, since that's what you elaborated it itself. I asked you, what the fuck do you mean by embodying capital? Because remember, the point is, you're saying Chinese billionaires embody capital. I said, how the fuck do they embody capital? He said, well, that's basic Marxism. I said, how is it Marxism? Where does Marx ever use that fucking language? He said, let me pull up a quote. And the quote you got me merely talks about embodying class interests and class relations, not embodying capital. Danielll, are you keeping up with the debate? Danielll, are you keeping up?
Okay, so if the capitalist class is not embodying the logic of capital, which is the expansionism that is normally associated with it within our own structure right now, then what the fuck are Chinese billionaires who own businesses?
Okay, Danielll, you just made a fucking dumbass out of yourself when you just said that. Danielll, let me explain something to you, Danielll. You want me to explain it to you? Danielll,
okay, yes.
Capital, first of all, the logic of capital isn't just expansion. There's no reason to fucking think that endless expansion wouldn't also be what defines communism. Actually, Marx and Engels are pretty clear that endless expansion is what socialism and communism entail as well. So no, expansion itself is not the point. The point is, Danielll, it's so easy. Marx talks about all the time. MCM. Money, commodity, more money. The end goal is just more money. more financial abstraction, more money.
Yes,
And
you're talking
that's
about
the final goal.
scheme
Okay,
cycle, I know
fine.
it.
Just shut up. Shut the fuck up. Daniel, since you need an education about Marxism 101, since you don't know anything you're fucking talking about, it's actually not true that the capitalist class is what embodies the logic of capital. Actually, Daniel, you want to know which class does embody the logic of capital? Literally embody it?
Okay, sure.
The proletarian class, Daniel. It's the proletarian class that actually embodies the logic of capital. They are the only embodiment of its fucking logic. Marx was very clear that labor is the essence of capital. Marx literally says labor is the essence of capital.
Where? Excuse me.
Let me look it up.
All right.
Hold on.
I'm waiting.
No one gives a fuck that you're waiting. Who the fuck are you? Okay, so this is what Marx said. Marx says. He says this in the third manuscript of his economic and philosophical manuscripts, Private Property and Labor. Okay?
1844?
Yes.
Okay.
So he does not ad verbatim say labor is the essence of capital, like ad verbatim, but he says the subjective essence of private property as an activity for itself, as subject, as person, is labor. So how do we get from that to capital, or labor is the essence of capital? Because capital is the form private property takes in capitalist society. It's money, commodity, money. Private property becomes instrumentalized or assimilated in this process of the growth of capital and the accumulation of money and profit. So in a capitalist economy, it follows logically. If the subjective essence of private property is labor, and this is what applies in all modes of production, then in the capitalist mode of production, the essence of capital is labor. The subjective essence of capital is labor itself, and therefore is embodied in the proletarian class.
Well, that just... okay, so I haven't actually read the economic manuscripts of 1844.
I can tell you haven't.
Oh, okay. From what I understood from the quote, yes, a lot of labor does embody capital in that.
No, it's not a lot of labor. The whole point is
labor
that labor
does embody capital in that it creates capital. But what I'm talking about,
it doesn't simply create capital. It is the subjective essence of capital. Capital is the form, labor is the essence. Real labor, and not just labor at the individual level of the proletarian working, but labor at the level of society, at the level of the development of the forces of production, is the essence of what capital is. Capital is merely the form.
Yes, but this is just arguing on a different scale on the interest of.
But the capitalist class, and therefore the billionaires, do not embody capital. They don't embody capital. How could they? They don't bear the marks of capital on their fucking body. There is nothing about them that embodies capital. They relate to the process of capital accumulation externally. They are not internal to the process. They are not the internal embodiment of the process. The proletariat is, you dumb fuck. You don't know anything about Marxism, and you thought you were going to be this big fucking challenge to me?
Okay, first of all, I didn't say they embody capital as in they create capital. I said they embody the logic of capital expanding itself.
Capital, and that I asked you what that means.
They embody the logic of capital.
But the proletariat is what embodies the logic of capital, dumbass.
No, the logic of
capital expansion is... They literally do!
Or the minutiae, which is commodities. The commodity production.
What is labor? What is labor?
Labor in the abstract, it's the Labor in the okay.
Labor is a commodity, dumbass.
Yes, labor is a
The
commodity.
only class that is a commodity, that is literally embodying the process of MCM, the process by which money becomes more money by means of commodities, is the fucking proletariat. They're the only class that sells their labor. Do you know anything about Marxism?
I do, yes.
No, you don't. You're a dumb fuck. You don't know anything about
They don't
Marxism.
receive more money. The MCM is the logic that the fucking bourgeoisie follows. Sorry, I swore again. I know you don't like that.
No, it's not the process the bourgeoisie follows. The bourgeoisie
follow prime. And
Did you just interrupt me? Did you just interrupt me again?
They follow C.
Did you just interrupt me again?
Yeah, okay, whatever. He did interrupt you. I'm sorry.
So did you concede the debate?
Well, no, but
yes, you did.
Well, this is your show, so you can do whatever you like, to be honest.
You just fucking surrendered and conceded to me. That's okay, we can keep going. Listen, Daniel, you didn't hear what I fucking said. The bourgeoisie participates in the process of capital accumulation, specifically as the agents, as the subjects accumulating money. Accumulating money. Not even necessarily capital, right? Because at that level, you transition to joint stock companies and you transition to more socialized forms of private ownership, right? Insofar as they're merely individuals, it's just money. They can own the capital, but not necessarily. So it's primarily money at the individual level, okay? You interrupted him many times, dude. So what? It's my fucking show, and I'm the elder. He says things that are inessential to the debate, and he mouths off, rambling on, saying shit that has nothing to do with anything. Now, Daniel, the capitalist class does not embody capital or the logic of capital. Explain how they do, if they do. Please explain how they embody it. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, they need authority to maintain it. So, for example, they use policemen and they use other means to embody it. Yes?
Have you ever looked in the mirror and just thought, God, I'm stupid?
Not
Did I ask you if they need authority or they exercise
not
authority?
Particularly, my name is not Haas.
I asked you if they embody. How do they embody capital? Your response to that is that they use authority and hire police, whatever that even fucking means. What does that have to do with my question? How do they embody capital and the logic of capital, Daniel?
Well, they embody it in that they use authority over proletarian subjects in order to, for example, work in their businesses.
How does that show that? How does that prove to me or demonstrate to me that they embody it? How does that mean they embody it? How does that mean they embody
the logic of it in that they have to use, for example, people to work to create commodities. If there was no bourgeoisie to enforce the rule, their own rule, there wouldn't be a proletarian.
That's not true. That's not true. Do you even know that police didn't always exist? The proletariat as a class didn't emerge because of the actions of the bourgeoisie. They emerged because of things like land enclosures and other forms of separating peasants from their original means of production.
Yes.
Why did you fucking interrupt me, Daniel?
Okay.
Who the fuck are you to interrupt me? I literally told you at the beginning of this debate, if you interrupt me, you concede and surrender the debate.
All right, I'm sorry.
And I let you off the hook the first time. This is the second time. Guess what happens the third time, Daniel?
Do I get kicked? Probably.
And by your own admission, you concede. Because I said, do you understand, Daniel, that this means you concede? And you said yes. This was your admission, not mine, Daniel. You're the one who accepts. And Daniel, by the way, you've already accepted that you've surrendered. By your own admission. We have you on record. Red guard, Red guard, dumbass in my chat. But how can you measure the value of labor by labor? Labor is a commodity, dumbass. Obviously, labor is a commodity. You think there's a dispute as far as the question of labor being a commodity? Of course it's a fucking commodity.
Yeah, so first of all, the proletarian, the bourgeois class rose up specifically during that first enclosure and during what is called.
No, it didn't. No, it did not. That is literally not the origin of the bourgeoisie at all.
like the bourgeois revolutions from 1848 and
The bourgeoisie preceded those revolutions by hundreds of years. Do you know anything about Marxism? Why the fuck would you come on my show and insult me and all my
well, they
viewers
became. Okay, sorry, I
by
interrupted you
wasting our
again.
time? You really think the bourgeoisie arose as a class during the enclosures? The fuck is
They
wrong with
enrose
you?
to, they became the ruling class during that time. Yes.
No, they really didn't. They didn't. They didn't, dude. For two reasons they didn't. One, they were already primarily the ruling class before then. But if you don't think they were the ruling class because society was still marked by the stamp of the ancien regime, the landowners and the nobility, well, those actually persisted well into the 19th century and even into the 20th century until World War I. So by both accounts of whatever you're approaching this, you're just fucking wrong. You're just a kid who's never picked up a fucking book in their life and decided they were confident enough to talk about subject matters and take audacious positions about things they don't even fucking understand. You
Right.
are such an embarrassment,
There's a
Dan.
book. There's a book. Okay, you want to talk about books? There's one, for example, called El desarrollo del capitalismo en
I don't
América
care.
Latina.
I don't care.
Okay,
I don't
so
care. There's a book
you're
called
literally
There's a book called I Fucked Your Mom Yesterday. Go read it.
all right. Well, in this book, Marxist professor Agustin Cuevas
Yeah?
goes specifically into the original accumulation or the original deaccumulation of capital
Yeah.
in Latin America, and specifically how that this mode of production rose up here, and it was mostly just the very sorry, my English is failing me right now. A very very like they had a lot of land property. Bourgeois rule enforced forced like a lot of people to become proletarian by taking them away from a lot of the means of subsistence that they had before. But it was definitely like already bourgeois, as they were already getting, for example, high capital investments from England in order to, for example, produce railways.
Daniel, are you still there? Are you rambling
Yeah.
off still? Daniel.
Did you just mute me?
Daniel. No, you weren't muted.
Based.
I let you mouth off and embarrass yourself with that entire spiel. Daniel, the bourgeoisie that benefited from the proletariat's dispossession was not the same so-called landowning or whatever bourgeoisie that was responsible for the enclosures. And even if you found a marginal case in which they were the same, and I know for a fact they weren't the fucking same, because in the actual cases of the enclosures in England, the forces that actually were responsible for that were not the same thing as the bourgeois capitalist class, which was resulting from the Industrial Revolution and which gave rise to the modern proletariat as we know it. The proletariat, the industrial proletariat. So no, they weren't the same thing. The enclosures and the dispossession from land and the terminal landlessness preceded the Industrial Revolution. And that's all we need to know to prove the fact that no, the bourgeoisie does not, by voluntary political and subjective means, create the proletariat class. The bourgeoisie and the proletariat class arise for the same reasons, and not because one creates the other, or that one's whole existence hinges upon the existence of the other. Actually,
Well,
if you fucking understand anything about Marxism, the whole point is that the proletariat and bourgeoisie come from the universal form of the citizen and the universal form of the citizen's equal rights. Because universal equal rights demolish castes or special economic privileges that are endowed through the means of the political state, but at the same time, this new economy in which citizens exchange goods and commodities necessarily have to eventually exchange labor itself, the commodity that endangers the possibility of all commodities. And this very paradox is what gives rise to the class distinction between the bourgeoisie and the proletariat. There doesn't need to be any police force to create this class. None of that needs to actually exist. All that needs to exist is the universal form of political equality, implicitly or otherwise, or without this political form, the elimination of caste relations, because in England, obviously, the universal form of political equality came much later, while the elimination of the feudal castes came before then. That's all that's necessary. The bourgeoisie does not... But you know why we're rambling, Daniel? Because even though you were fucking wrong about all of those things, we're still not even an inch closer to your original proposition and your original claim, which was that the capitalist class embodies the logic of capital. You have yet to make a single intelligible point in favor of that proposition.
Okay, so first of all, there were some problems with what you said. For example, in the final chapter of Capital, Marx goes specifically into the cases of the Native Americans in which they had to be forced to become proletarianized, forced through, for example, anti-vagancy laws, or through police
What does that have to do with
retaliation.
anything?
Huh?
What does it have to do with anything?
Well, you said that every place became Yes, that is the case. What you said was the case for Europe, but was not the case for most of the world. Most of the world did not become proletarianized through the bourgeois revolutions in which the proletarian participated in.
That's not that's not... Daniel, I literally just gave the example of England where there was no clear bourgeois revolution, unless you want to count the Civil War and that kind of shit. I literally gave you an example of how that's not the case. So you have shit in your ears. Well, you need to clean the shit out of your ears, because that's not what I fucking said.
Well, yeah, but you said that there wasn't a need for policemen, but there was in a lot of places.
I said that is not the primary reason why proletarianization happened. You made the claim that without the bourgeoisie's coercive political police force, there would be no proletariat, which is actually not true. Now, there may be cases in which the bourgeoisie, the capitalist class, is short on the supply of labor and will, try and pass policies and laws that make it for Native Americans, that proletarianize them. That might be the case. I even conceded the possibility that there might be a case in Latin America where it's the same bourgeois class responsible for the separation between the peasants and their original means of production is the same bourgeois class that eventually hires the things. That's fine, but that is not historically how the proletarian class emerged, because whether you want to agree about the significance of Europe or not, that is where the proletarian class first emerged. Okay, yes. So that's why I'm using the example. What I'm saying, Daniel, basic logic. And by the way, you're very close to interrupting me there. Be careful, Daniel. Basic logic shows us that your claim doesn't hold. If there is a case in which the proletariat class can arise outside of the direct political and subjective means of the bourgeoisie's intervention, that means that the proletariat's existence does not essentially rest on the bourgeoisie engaging in subjective political... But you know what's so fucking stupid about you, Daniel? The bourgeoisie doesn't spend its time in politics or ruling society. They spend their time running their companies and factories and businesses and accumulating money. So what you're saying is you literally think... You have a Foucault anarchistic brain, according to which classes are directly political power, instead of an indirect relation between the political power and the class.
No, it's basically a relation based on the instrumentality of things. They have like a...
The bourgeoisie doesn't care about using all this police and shit. They care about making money, and they're going to spend their extra money bribing politicians and making sure politicians serve their interests. Yes, but the bourgeoisie itself does not directly govern society.
Yes, but then you're conceding that since China has bourgeois agents, like, for example, Jack Ma, which, I mean, disappeared, but they have they have many more billionaires.
When did I concede that?
Well, if you're conceding that China has a billionaire class, and you're saying
No,
that
when did I concede that? Under the Marxist definition of a class, it doesn't have a billionaire class. I don't concede that.
Well, if
Billionaires.
they own
What?
they
Okay,
own companies,
Daniel. They don't own the companies. That's the thing. They don't own it. How do they own it? How do they own anything in China, Daniel? The government can literally controls everything in China. You don't own shit. You think they actually own it? They don't. You actually think the billionaires like literally own it as like in the same way the capitalist class owned shit in the 19th century? Is that what you think? Because you don't know anything about China if that's what you think. Literally every decision they make on behalf of their company is directed by state policies. The state intervenes at every fucking level of production. Especially when it comes to the billionaires. The billionaires are especially exempt from having... Listen, you want to know what capitalists in China, quote-unquote capitalists, do have leeway and actually being able to make choices and shit? It's literally the people on the ground selling fruits and vegetables in markets and shit, or people in fucking selling cell phones and shit. Small-scale people. Yeah, the government is, you know, kind of hands-off. That's not true when it comes to billionaires, Daniel.
Then why do they allow them to exist if they're supposedly useless, both economically and politically?
Daniel, I think you're making...
They allow them to exist, then...
All right, you know what, Daniel? Daniel. I just muted your stupid bitch ass. You just interrupted me for the third time. You raving fucking clown. You have zero impulse control. You're a fanatical, excited little kid who can't even control themselves like an adult. You're screaming impulsively, and you cannot even control yourself. You're making a leap, Daniel, between the capitalist class proper and billionaires. Now, intuitively and colloquially, we will associate billionaires with the capitalist class, but you actually have to prove that just because there's billionaires in China means they form the equivalent to a capitalist class. You have not demonstrated that. You haven't proved it. You're just assuming that everyone implicitly agrees with you on that point. Who just said Daniel wins? One's in the chat if Daniel got fucking destroyed. I want Daniel's people to know who's in charge here. Oh, wait, we have some twos. That's okay. We had 1 2. It's from Salcom.
Based.
1.
All the twos are getting banned because you're fucking stupid. And I don't want you in my chat. Daniel, I just warned you that if you interrupt me one more fucking time, you conceded the debate. So you conceded, yes or no? You yourself agreed that you understood that if you interrupt me, you conceded.
Daniel destroyed.
So what do you think, Daniel? Did you concede?
Not really. You're just like...
Why did you interrupt me then? Did you or did you not?
If you don't want to talk with me and have this full conversation on,
this is not about me, Daniel.
Debate,
if you
don't want to have this full on debate with me right now,
did you or did you not say that you understood that if you interrupted me once, you concede the debate and submit to me?
Okay.
Did you or did you not? Yes or no?
Well, sure.
Yes, you did. So if you interrupt me 3 times, what does that mean?
I guess you're gonna kick me now?
No, what does that mean as far as what you agreed to?
Oh, that... Well, you concede a debate. Yeah, sure. But
based on your own word.
That I conceded the debate. I just said it.
So if you didn't want to concede, why did you interrupt me? Daniel, not once. We all make mistakes. Not twice. We all make mistakes. 3 times. And I warned you each time of your prior agreement. I warned you
But
each
yeah,
time.
sure.
You interrupted me.
Mouseists are
Well, you haven't given
legitimately
me a
dumb
lot
libs.
of formalities, if that's what you, if you're complaining about mine, to be honest. But
I haven't given you a lot of what?
formalities, like for example,
Formalities.
you've
Daniel, is it a formality? Let me ask a question, Daniel.
it's definitely not a formality to call me a kid and a
You are
punk
a kid.
anarchist.
Daniel,
Or,
you are a fucking kid. Daniel, let me ask you a question. Is it a formality to not respect my formality? Then you go and debate my chat, which is as per my protocol and my formality, and my chat, my people tell me you're a waste of time, you have nothing interesting or unique to say whatsoever, and that I shouldn't debate you because you've already debated this a million times before and he has nothing new to say. And then I say, okay, fuck him. Then you run on Twitter, and you and all of your friends on Twitter start saying, oh, Haas is scared of Daniel. Haas is scared of Daniel. Is that a formality?
well, that
As
was
per
not
our protocol for deciding who gets to debate me, you failed. So you failed my formality. So formality's out the window, Daniel. If you cared about formality, you wouldn't have run to Twitter running your mouth just because you got fucking destroyed by my Discord people. If you
Not
can't
really.
beat
I
my
got
Discord
gangbanged
people,
by like 15 people because it's
okay,
very
if you can't
hard.
beat them, why do you get a chance to debate me?
It's actually pretty hard to talk when there's 15 people speaking over you, all trying to
Okay?
be.
You have never had an original thought in your life. Everyone should speak over you. A mouse, a fucking rat should speak over you, Daniel. Daniel, let me tell you something honestly. If you never uttered or wrote a single word in your whole life, humanity will have lost nothing.
I think I can say the same for you, Has. To be honest.
No, the difference is, no, there's a big difference, Daniel. If I never said a word or wrote anything in my life, humanity would not have infrared, would not have this community, which is rising every fucking day.
Okay, I'm sorry. Good luck with that, buddy.
Wait. Why do I need luck? Go ahead.
Well, just good luck with that.
Why do I need luck?
Don't have any bad will on you. I'm just.
Why do I need luck?
Just in general, I mean, I can't wish you luck.
No, you're passive aggressively wishing me luck because you think that it's not going to turn out well for me. So why? Don't roll it back, you fucking pussy. Explain why I need luck.
I just don't think you're actually gonna get very far.
Why not?
Just like, well, it's just the nature of the proletarian in the U.S., for example.
The nature of what?
Definitely, the nature of how the proletarian in the U.S. has played out.
What's the proletariat in the U.S.? How do you define that?
Most of the socialist struggles that the U.S. has had have failed spectacularly after U.S. government meddling. So
okay,
I'm wishing
and
you little luck there.
how many socialist struggles succeeded in China before how many social struggles succeeded in Russia or China before communists became a movement? How many?
Well,
succeeded?
there's the 1905 revolution, which
was
could
that
be,
a success?
So
what?
No, but
wait. So what? So according to you, the American history of the Black Panthers, the Civil Rights Movement, the labor movement, Eugene Debs, all of that, that was nothing, right?
No, it wasn't nothing. It's actually very admirable.
So was 1905 a success or a failure?
It was a failure.
Yeah. So I'm asking you again, Daniel. What track record of success did any communists in any country have before they were successful?
For example, the establishment of the People's Republic of China in 1949, I would say.
What success did they have before?
What success did they have before? Well, they won multiple battles against the Kuomintang,
okay.
and they managed to kick them out to Taiwan. I mean, that was not ideal because they massacred a lot of native people in Taiwan. But
they still didn't win power. There's many battles that communists in America won too.
Well, they haven't been able to overthrow the American government, so
and neither did the Chinese communists before they did it.
Okay, yeah. Well, good luck with that.
So why are you saying good luck?
I don't even live in the U.S. I live in Mexico.
Daniel, you're saying good luck. Why? What's with the passive aggressive good luck?
Well, just good luck, overthrowing the U.S. government. It's
Wait. Is that the barometer of making an impact on this world? Because remember
no,
what this is about is...
but successful...
Daniel, this is about whether humanity will have gained something or not gained something based on...
There's definitely a difference
Yeah.
between gaining something
Yeah,
and
yeah.
having a victory. Like, for example, there are
Okay.
martyrs
So
of our
according to you,
movement.
Daniel, let me ask you a question. Karl Marx, who did he overthrow?
He didn't overthrow
He
anything,
didn't.
but he
So
had
did
other
he-
gains in theory, for example, in experience that he inevitably gives to the Philistine in his analysis of the Paris Commune and of the...
Keep rambling and wasting my time, Daniel. So, Daniel, if someone were to say, hey, Karl Marx, if you never wrote something or said anything, you will have no one would have gained anything. Would that be accurate?
Are you comparing yourself to Karl Marx right now?
Only insofar as neither of us are probably going to overthrow states. Or it doesn't have to be Karl Marx. It could be anyone else. It could be any prominent communist in history. It could be any prominent communist writer in history. Gramsci. It could be anyone. It could literally be anyone. Any prominent communist who did make an impact on this world, but yet didn't overthrow a state. Because you're holding me to the standard of overthrowing the American state.
Well, that's your goal, isn't it?
Not necessarily. My goal is to rebuild the Communist Party, and before then, build a powerful media corporation that will help communist forces and progressive populist forces in America. That's my actual goal.
So you're looking at the thesis of reconstitution of the Communist Party, or you're looking to create a Communist Party of a new type?
No, I'm not. I'm looking to create a media corporation which will direct the transformation of the existing Communist Party, not a new one.
So basically, you want to stream until you do what?
Until I have enough capital to expand operations and build a media corporation.
So you want to be a boss of a firm, which a communications firm?
I said media corporations, you said communications firm.
Oh, okay. Like a media corporation? You want to be the boss of a media corporation?
Yeah, me and the other infrared people.
Okay. Well, sure. I mean, if you wanna do that, that seems like kind of antithetical to the communist movement.
Why? Wait, that's antithetical to the communist movement? Please explain and elaborate.
Well, why would you want to become a CEO?
Who cares? You don't think that communist politics is a business?
No, to be honest.
Oh, what is it then? It's not about raising money so you have enough fucking capital and enough money to actually have the resources to make a difference? What is it then? Are you fucking stupid? Where do you think the fucking
not.
Bolshevik party came from?
They stole from banks.
No, they did that once.
No, they did that multiple times.
Yeah, but the prominent one they did once. The primary form of earning revenue for almost every major communist party on earth was running a fucking newspaper, which they charged for, and they were therefore capitalist business CEOs. Fucking dumb anarchist.
Well,
The fuck do you know about anything? You're
almost
literally a
never
fucking
ran
anarchist. So you want me to live in a squat with you?
Not really. I
Not really.
Would not like you
So
to
how
live
is it
with me.
antithetical to the communist movement to create a powerful media corporation that will serve the ends of a communist movement? Go ahead.
Well, take for example, there was a very recent development in which some workers at a firm, I forgot the name, wanted to make it a co-op, the self-described socialist magazine,
Yeah,
and
I
they
would
were
fire
all
them.
fired.
Yeah, I would have fired them. They're not workers, they're parasites. You actually think those are workers? That's an interesting definition of worker. So according to you, anyone who's employed is a worker, right? You fucking dumbass. CEOs are workers then. Yeah, then CEOs are workers too, dumbass. A CEO does not own anything, technically, just by being a CEO. A chief executive officer is a employed managerial position over a company. It's an administrative position that shareholders literally employ someone to be in, to direct a company. A CEO is a worker under your definition.
Well, yeah, but they embody the logic of capital, so there you go.
There we go, with something you were never able to define or clarify the meaning of. They embody the logic of capital, which we've established means nothing. They're workers. You think anyone who's just employed is a worker?
No. I believe that, for example...
Oh, but you said you did. No, you just said you did, so you changed your mind.
No. Okay,
you did change your mind.
If you actually want me to define it, I would say that an worker is someone who has to sell his labor in order to survive.
Okay, then let's define labor. What is labor then?
Labor is a commodity. You literally said that earlier.
That's not the only thing labor is, though. Well, how does Marx define labor, for example, in his early writings? From the 1840s.
Okay, you say that they embodied all of capital because...
is that what he said in the 1840s?
In 1844, I don't remember the exact quote you said, but you said they embody all of capital because they built most of it.
That's not what I said. That's not what I said.
Although in critique of the Gotha program, he goes over how nature also plays a role in that. But
no, he doesn't. You rambling child. Why are you talking about the critique of the Gotha program and what Marx was pointing out, how nature is also a source of value, not just labor? That my point, Daniel, is not every form of hired service is labor, as per the Marxist definition.
That is true. Because, for example...
Journalists and professionals are not workers. They do not perform, they don't have labor, they don't sell any labor.
Well, it depends on the model of the firm, but...
No, they don't sell any labor. When you're writing a fucking article, you're not selling labor. You're not selling labor. Labor is the shit that actually transforms the relationship between humanity and the world and produces commodities. Proper. Mm-hmm. Commodities proper. And that's why for Marx, labor is defined at the level of the least quantum of unskilled labor. Everything else is just the multiplication or an addition or a subtraction of that original quantum of unskilled labor. But journalists do not produce any labor. They literally just recycle the value that is produced by labor. They don't produce any labor.
To say that a newspaper is not a commodity, then?
If it's a commodity, then the labor that is producing that commodity is not the journalists and not the people. You have to get into attention economy theory and consumer-oriented theories in Marxism. Then you may be able to get like this idea that, like Matteo Pasquinelli's idea that attention is a form of labor or whatever. But you'd have to make that case. But the journalist is not performing any labor.
Well, writing and making like videos, for example, would be a form of labor.
No, it wouldn't. It literally wouldn't.
You think, like, for example, people who are store clerks are not laborers?
No. They're not. They're not actually producing value with their work.
Well, yeah, but they're selling their value, so...
No, they're not selling. That doesn't mean anything. They're not producing any value.
They're still selling their own commodity, which is their labor.
No, they're not. No, they're not. They're not producing any fucking value whatsoever. Labor doesn't factor into it.
Okay. So you don't believe clerks are workers?
Colloquially, they're workers. But in the technical sense of like a Marxist proletarian laborer, no, they're not. You call them workers because that's their cultural status.
Well, yeah, they are still having to sell their own labor in order to buy commodities. That is
So you're like an
literally
NPC, basically, right?
no.
Well, you're just repeating dogmatic things without actually justifying why. Why is it that it's a form of labor? How is the form of labor crystallized in a commodity?
It's not crystallizing a commodity specifically because they don't
So how is it
produce
labor? How is it labor in any relevant
labor.
sense?
It's labor in that it maintains the means of production. For example, you can't run dirty machines because dust messes with them. For example,
They're what?
dust, and if you don't maintain machines and you don't
How does
keep them
that
clean.
justify that they are laboring proletarians? What do you mean dusting machines? Are you saying a store clerk who's selling stuff at a shop, or are you talking about someone who's working at a factory performing the function of dusting off machines? What are you fucking talking about?
Actually, I think that's just me being bad at English. I thought a clerk was someone who cleans.
No.
Okay, sorry, that's my mistake.
Well, a
then.
store clerk is someone who cleans the store, not the fucking factory floor.
Still can happen. For example, that a store has internal factories. For example, in Mexico, we have machines.
What a
which
fucking
produce...
backpedaling liar. Now you're going to talk about the rare exception of stores that actually double as factories? Get the fuck out of here, you fucking liar. And Dorito
Well, that was
dumbass.
the case for most of history.
Dorito,
Walmarts and stuff like that are very recent.
No, it's not about Walmart. It's about most stores, okay, get their commodities from factories and they just sell them.
Yes, that is a very kind of recent development.
Prove it. Prove it. I reject that view that it's a recent development. Shops in France, in Paris, did not have fucking factories right behind them. No, they didn't. I'm rejecting that thesis.
Well, yeah, sometimes maybe for things like clothes, but like
hey, shut up. Dorito dumbass. When they're commodity transforming the paper to a newspaper, labor is not involved. There's no labor involved. There's no labor involved whatsoever. Dumbass. You don't know what fucking labor means. Go back and read Marx. How is it transformed then? How is it transformed from paper to a newspaper? They write shit on it. So, they write shit on it, and nobody's just buying the physical writing on the paper. They are buying the content of that writing. They're buying the ideas and the news stories and the opinions. You think the value of the newspaper comes from the act of writing with your wrist? Then why can't they just scribble incomprehensible garbage on it? You fucking idiot. Well, no, they don't, Dorito. You're such a fucking idiot. Newspapers get their value from their content, not because people are using their wrists to write shit on it. You're so fucking stupid. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Their labor is their opinions. You think an opinion is labor? You literally think an opinion, expressing an opinion, is a form of labor. What a fucking dumbass. And these people call themselves Marxists, by the way, and he thinks he's a Marxist. He literally thinks that having an opinion is a form of labor. They get paid for it, so yes, a CEO also gets paid to do what they do. And literally most people in America, most fucking jobs, most fucking people get paid to do what they fucking do. Dumbass. Doesn't fucking mean they're proletarian laborers. What a fucking idiot. And they perform labor. No, they don't. Weren't you just saying CEOs are workers? As per your definition, not mine. As per your stupid, anti-Marxist, Americanized Foucault definition of what labor is. Not mine.
Well, no, I don't believe CEOs are laborers in the sense that they are proletarian.
Why not?
They embody the.
They embody up your. What do you mean embody? Explain how they're not workers.
Well, basically, they enforce the rule of capital.
So what? So do. Listen, okay. Do you want me to play this game with you, Daniel? If you're working at a factory and you're using your labor, you're also enforcing the rule of capital because you're obeying the orders of capital. So technically, workers are also embodying capital because they're enforcing the will of capital by means of their performance and labor. Why don't they resist it if they want to be true workers, according to you? Please explain to me. Even if they're fulfilling,
have you worked at a factory before? They
Daniel,
for example, try to take breaks even when they're not supposed to.
So the CEO tries to go on holiday when he has other responsibilities. So what? Daniel, explain to me how, as per your definition, a CEO is not a worker.
CEO is not a worker because they defend the rule of capital.
So a worker can still defend the rule of capital and still be a worker.
Well, yeah, but that just make them class traders. Simple as that.
Okay, so a CEO is a class trader.
It depends on how big the company is, but yeah, they can be. If it's like a small company and it's
if it's a big company.
If it's a big company, then most of the times they have enough money to be actually capitalist, and it's just their.
So what if they don't? What if they're just a CEO?
As in like CEO where?
First of all, how much money they get paid is not relevant for their job, because that's their job.
Well, if they live by MCM Prime, and that's being the CEO of a company is just their basically day job hobby, I guess.
No, that's their job. Their job is to be the CEO, the chief executive officer. They're being paid a salary to perform a service, a labor. So they're workers or laborers then, right?
Well, no, they enforce.
Why not?
Because they enforce the rule of capital.
So what? How is that essential? What does that have to do with being a worker or not?
Pretty fucking simple, in my opinion.
So explain it. You haven't explained it in a minimally coherent way. Explain why the fact that CEOs remind me of my dad is proof that they're not workers as per your definition.
They don't really remind me of my dad. Sorry.
Okay,
is my voice too high for you?
Yes, it is. Explain.
All right. Well, CEOs what they do is they literally embody an authoritative figure in which capital bases itself. And so, for example, he can break up strikes. He can order.
Can workers break up strikes too?
Not really.
Yes, I mean, they can. They're literally
if
called strike.
To,
they're
yes,
literally called. They're literally called strike breakers. You fucking idiot. Yes, they do.
I mean, like scabs? Yeah, of course, those types of workers can because they need it. They literally have to sell their own own labor.
Daniel. If we define workers by people who are being employed and sell their labor, how can a CEO not be a worker? It's as simple as that. The fact that CEOs work in the interests of a company, which is what they're hired to do. The fact that CEOs embody my daddy or whatever, what does that have to do with their class status? All of a sudden so according to you, someone's ideological and political viewpoints is actually what defines class, not their material relationship to production. And by material, we know what you mean is the Foucault power relation, the power arithmetic. So how are CEOs? How are CEOs not workers? Go ahead.
I think it'd be pretty obvious that there's barely any solidarity between a worker and a CEO.
That's not. The workers are not defined by solidarity. They're defined by being hired for their labor. Yes or no?
Yeah, sure. But
okay, so are CEOs workers or not?
Not.
Why not?
They defend capital. Simple as that.
So workers can also defend capital.
But it's not in their interest. And if the
so why is it in the interest of the CEO?
Then it's the nature of his job to maintain capital.
It's the main nature of his job to make sure the company flourishes. It's also in the nature of the worker's job to make sure the company flourishes in a different way. You see?
Well, yeah, they have to produce commodities, but they're not really doing it willingly. Most of the time.
Okay, so then you could say the CEO is not doing it willingly. And by the way, that's not true that they're not doing it willingly. That's just a fucking lie. They are doing it willingly.
Okay, so the proletariat is so free that they may not sell their labor and fucking starve.
No, they don't have to work in that specific company.
Well, yeah, but they have to work in a company.
Well, so
right?
does the CEO then. But what does it have to do with whether they're workers or not? Are you an NPC who's broken? What does it have to do with their class status? How is a CEO not a worker according to your definition?
Wait a second, I'm getting... Okay.
You got your friends to help you out? Good.
No, I'm not. I just got a message from someone.
Yeah, I know, to help you out.
No, it's not.
Yeah, okay, so what did they say? What did they tell you?
I'm seeing someone tomorrow.
What did they tell you? Go ahead.
Oh, do you want me to read it to you? It's in Spanish.
They sent you something in Spanish? Why would you read me in something in a language I don't understand?
Well, you asked me to read you what they're sending me, and I speak Spanish because I am Mexican.
Okay. So what, do you have a new point, or are you just going to repeat the same thing you just said without actually justifying it or responding to my criticism?
I mean, if you think CEOs are proletarian, then...
I don't! I'm asking you why they're not, as per your definition.
Well, I don't think they're not either, so why are we having this conversation
You
then?
do think they're workers. Else you're
don't.
being inconsistent. Then you're being inconsistent arbitrarily.
Oh, no, it's in the nature of their job to maintain workers in
So,
line
okay,
in
but
order
you could
to
say
maintain
that
the
about
company.
workers too. You could say that about workers too. And then when I pointed that out to you, you said, well, workers don't have a choice. What does choice have to do with it? That's the nature of their job. Why is choice suddenly essential to the fact? I don't get why choice is suddenly essential to the fact.
So let me get this straight. You think CEOs, at least per my definition,
Yes.
are workers,
Yes.
but I'm telling you that they're not workers because the nature of their job requires them to maintain workers in line through authority.
That's
so
also
that
in the
they-
nature of everyone else's job too, insofar as the nature of their job is to serve and fulfill the necessities of the company one way or another.
Yeah, but a lot of the time they don't get to willingly choose what they do inside the company.
Okay,
Or,
let me ask you a question. What does that have to do with it, though? Tell me how that's essential to the definition. You are not arriving at a consistent definition where you're saying we go from A to B. So, for example, if you say, well, they serve the interests of the company and they serve capital. And then I say, well, workers do the same thing in a different way. And then you say, well, they don't have a choice. They don't have a lot of say. How do you get from A to B, A being they fulfill the functions of the company, to B, well, they don't have a choice? How do you get to the essentiality of B? I don't get it. Can you make the argument of why it's essential?
This is actually a Bordiga quote. If you are familiar with him, although I'm not a very
Yeah, when I was
big fan of
14
him.
years old, I was familiar with him. Read it.
Well, yeah, the proletarian is so free that they might venture out so far as to not sell their labor and starve.
Okay. Do you have Bordiga's number?
He's dead. So-
Yeah. Can you call him and tell him to suck my cock? He's dead and I piss on his grave because I don't care about what Bordiga says because he's not a fucking Marxist. He's a fascist.
All right. Well,
You think I respect Bordiga as a legitimate Marxist?
I mean, he did lead a lot of
What?
resistance against the.
Yeah, he called
lead-
Hitler and Mussolini the greatest revolutionaries of the 20th century. That's what he did.
Well, he did say a lot of things under watch from the Italian police, and he said it to avoid prison time.
No, he said that. No one forced him to call Hitler the greatest revolutionary of the 20th century. No one put a gun to his head and made him say that.
Well, yeah, but he did say a lot of
No
things.
one forced the Bordigists after World War II to become Holocaust deniers either. No one forced them to do that.
I'll give you that one actually. So
Okay.
I'm not a Bordigist.
Oh, of course you're not. Of course you're gonna backpedal from that.
I'm not a Bordigist. I just had a useful quote that to this context.
I'm sure Mussolini forced them to do that too. That's not a useful quote, by the way. Saying, listen, most proletarians probably have to do that, but I'm asking you the question, as per your definition, are CEOs workers? And you have not given me a justification for why you're saying no. On the basis of your definition of a worker being anyone who sells their performance for in return for money. Because CEOs technically don't.
Most of the time, they don't actually get a wage. They get paid in
A salary or stocks. But here's
Yeah,
the
they
thing.
get paid in
But
stocks.
that is not by necessity the meaning of a CEO. A chief executive officer does not necessarily own any part of their company.
Not necessarily, but it's very rare nowadays.
Well, what does that matter? Technically, a CEO can be a worker.
If you want to say it is, sure, but
No,
I don't
I
believe that.
don't. I'm using your definition. I don't agree with the definition that
Okay,
anyone who
well,
just gets hired.
you're not really saying something I believe.
Okay,
my
why don't you
friend.
believe it? Go ahead. Why don't you believe it?
Because it's in the nature of their job to make other people in line of the interest of capital. They
And
have
what
to.
does that have to do with it? You're literally running in circles. Do you not see there's a dialogue loop here? Why is that
Oh
essential
yeah, you're
to the
just
argument?
giving me the same points. What am I fucking supposed to do? I will keep
chat,
on
one's in
saying
the
the
chat.
same
This is the
thing
biggest.
until you actually
One's in the
change
chat
the
if
fucking
this
point.
is alacrity level of NPC. One's in the chat if this is. Am I the only one witnessing this
I'm
alacrity 2.0?
I'm not looking at your chat, to be honest.
Literally alacrity 2.0. Literally alacrity 2.0. You're literally alacrity. You literally have a dialogue tree. You have a dialogue tree. I'm pressing you on the point of why it is that CEOs are not workers, as per the definition of workers, being those who have to sell their quote-unquote labor in return for money. And you're saying, well, they're not because they uphold the interests of capital. But that does not fit insofar as it's a question of the essentiality of your definition. Nowhere in your definition does it mention upholding the interests of capital or not. Your definition just says anyone who sells their labor is a worker. Your definition does not say, for example, anyone who sells their labor and also has solidarity with other people who sell their labor, and also has no choice but to sell their labor, and also does not serve the interests of capital. And I don't know how it is that workers don't serve the interests of capital. Even you, leftcom end notes people literally say, well, because through the process of real consumption, the proletariat is an instrument of capital. They literally say that now. The proletariat literally fulfills the function of capital, and dirty hipsters who don't shower like me, we're the only vanguard of the resistance against capital because we don't shower and we don't get a job and we squat in abandoned places.
I've had jobs
That is
before.
what you fucking believe.
No, I'm currently unemployed because I'm studying, but I will study engineering.
Yeah. And why do I care?
Well, you say I'm a hipster who doesn't shower.
Yes, you don't. You don't. You're an unemployed student. You literally fit the demographic definition of what an American leftoid is. You're literally... I agree, dude. You are representing the interests of your class as far as your views are concerned. I can tell why you people hate China. Because Xi just released, we don't want people going to crowding the universities anymore. We want people to go to trade school, and we want to glorify people who work with their hands and do real jobs, not this fake, dumb fucking bullshit. And I can tell why you hate China for that reason.
I don't hate China for that reason. I can
tell you do.
I hate China because they had full-on capitalist restoration. Simple as that.
Yeah, but you also don't know what capitalism even is, and you've just proven that. So
None of
the words is an
economic system
none
based
of the
on
words
the private ownership of the means of production.
None of the words you use have a modicum.
I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with the word.
None of them have the minimum of legitimacy.
Okay, well, if you're not gonna accept any words to have legitimacy, I guess I'm done.
Because you got destroyed. I gave you so many chances, Daniel. By your own admission, you conceded.
No, not really.
And you fell short. You fell short. Okay, what do you have to say then? What do you have to say then? That's missing. That you didn't say before.
Okay, what I will say is that I hope you have good luck on your
That's your argument to win the debate?
I hope you have good luck on your construction of an enterprise. I hope you fire a lot of employees.
So what?
And
hold on, so
I hope
what? Wait. Do you think the Communist Party didn't have employees? What a fucking dumbass, he left. He literally left. Oh, you're gonna have employees? You're gonna be a capitalist business owner? Fuck yes, I am! Hell yeah, I am! I mean, fuck yeah, I am! But how is that a capitalist business owner? Like, I don't even get how that's capitalism. What? A media corporation? Those are workers who work for you? Get the fuck out of here. Unionize the journalists. If you're not a fucking journalist because that's your passion, then fuck off. Go work for McDonald's or something and be a true worker. Fucking idiot. I don't give a shit. And if the future Infrared Corporation, if my workers try to unionize, I'll fire all of them on the spot. They will all get fired. They will all get fired on the spot.